Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, so I know we're right before spring break, and part of me wants to talk a little bit about the mission drive or you guys chanting PREP after the pie in the faces yesterday. That was pretty cool. How the robotics team had its best finish ever in competition. Great job, robotics. And yeah, sure. And I think about the great start of the volleyball season. They have a big match with Dickinson coming up. So all those things are on my mind. But since this is Holy Week, I thought I would just change the vibe just a second and talk about something a little bit more serious that applies to you. So with Holy Thursday and Good Friday coming up, I want to specifically talk about our guy, our namesake, Peter. Now, I know I've mentioned this before. We talk about Peter's imperfections and all his mistakes, and they continue right up to the crucifixion. It seems like Peter, once again, just can't get it right. Jesus asks Peter to pray with him. He falls asleep. When the soldiers arrive, he cuts off the soldier's ear out of panic, and as Father O'Hare said, Peter denies his best friend not once, but 3 times. But what we don't talk about is Peter doesn't show up to the crucifixion. He doesn't show up. He's not at the foot of the cross. And I wonder why he does that. I'll get back to that in a second. So this past weekend, my son Peter, named after the school, not the apostle, but my son Peter and I had the chance to use his Oculus, right? So for those of you who don't know, the Oculus is a virtual reality headset. You guys know what that is? Okay, good, great. So for the adults in the room, it makes you feel like you're immersed in this game. So I'm wearing the headset, and it's a lot of fun battling skeletons and monsters, and my son is laughing at me, recording me with my pseudo warrior skills. You know what that looks like. It pulls you in, right? And it's like it takes over your imagination so much so that you have real feelings. So a skeleton jumps out, and I bump away, and I duck, and I start to get this anxiety, and I know it's just a game. So where am I going with this? I think sometimes there are times in our own life where we wear this metaphoric virtual reality headset. We all do it. We let our imagination convince us that certain things are real or true or are going to happen, even though they're not. And it brings up this self-doubt, and it's a false sense of self. Because of this metaphoric Oculus, we make assumptions about ourselves and sometimes about what other people think about us. I mean, think about it. We toss and turn the night before a test or an interview, convincing ourselves that we're not ready. We stare at our phones waiting for someone to text us back, and we think, she doesn't like me. It's been too long. What is she possibly doing? Why am I not getting this text? Or maybe 10 minutes before a game or performance, doubt starts to creep in, and we convince ourselves that we're not going to be able to win. The imagination is so powerful that we wonder if we are qualified enough. We wonder if we're doing well enough in a relationship, in a job, in school, in a friendship. Sometimes we wonder if we're doing well enough in life. And it's all up in our head. It's not real. We all do it, but it's not real. We live too much in our head. Now, I'm not saying that we need to assume we're great all the time and that life is perfect. Of course not. I'm just saying that we need to take off the Oculus, that metaphoric Oculus, challenge those assumptions, and not let that self-doubt define us. And I would love to say that as you get older, it gets easier, but it's not, because the stakes are higher. So what does this have to do with Simon Peter and Jesus? As I said, I don't know why Peter didn't show up. Maybe he thought Jesus would never forgive him. Maybe he thought Jesus was angry at him. Maybe he thought Jesus would never be his best friend again. Maybe Peter had on that metaphoric Oculus and was living inside his head, fixated on his mistakes as opposed to what he really wanted to do, which was to be there for his friend. At the foot of the cross, John was there, Jesus' mother was there, Mary Magdalene was there. Now, I point this out because this applies to you. Throughout our lives, we will all have our own crosses to bear. And while, of course, we're not crucified, there will be times when we're hurting an awful lot, or when we're scared, or when we feel like the whole world is against us. It's going to happen, right? I promise. That's just life. And my question is this: who is going to be at the foot of your cross? Who would you count on to show up for you? And maybe even in this last school year, there have been times that have been really tough, times that are hurting. I know there have been. Who has been at the foot of your cross? Who showed up? And then, of course, you reverse it, right? We know our friends may have had their own rough patches, struggles, anxieties, doubts. Were you there for them? Were you at the foot of their cross? If not, what stopped you? Was it the Oculus that creates the self-doubt that says maybe a 15, 16, 17-year-old young man can't help? That's why you got to take it off. So this Good Friday, and this is high hopes, but maybe, who knows, every Good Friday after this, maybe you'll think in gratitude for the folks who were there when you needed them the most, and you'll think of the times you were there for others. And as we grow in faith, we will realize that when we are there for and with others, we're giving glory to God. And if in this reflection you realize that you weren't at the foot of the cross when you should have been, maybe Good Friday is the time to just hit reset and say, I could do better, or to say thank you. So please take off that Oculus, put aside the self-doubt, and recognize that you are awesomely and wondrously made, and that giving your best effort with your whole heart really is a form of prayer. Maybe it's the best form of prayer in whatever we do. So please know, just as always, I'll be praying for you and our faculty and staff this Holy Week and on Easter Sunday. When I think of what I'm grateful for, most grateful for, you guys come to mind immediately. I'm grateful for you. Happy Easter. I love you an awful lot. Let's go prep.